It's not just Oh the Anthem 365. It's Oh the Anthem 365 Cloud now. This is Corey, and this is the Oh the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 365 of the Oh the Anthem podcast. Coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
You don't like my timely Microsoft Office reference?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't very sure.
Well, if you don't enjoy that, maybe you'll enjoy anchor.fm/Oh the Anthem, where you can find the audio version of this podcast wherever you listen to it.
So the good news for you true Oh the Anthem fans, we now, as of this week, have enough for you to listen to a new and different show every single day of the year.
Yes.
You could start out tomorrow. Well, tomorrow you're going to listen to 365. The day after that, you listen to one, and you listen to one new one every single day.
Listen in the back order, like
Whole
365,
back
364, 63.
And then that math doesn't really work out because when you get back around to this time next year, you'd be like 50 behind.
I mean, to be fair, we have an episode 0 too.
That's also true. Although I don't know, is it publicly available? Because it shouldn't be.
I think it is.
Oh no. Okay.
I think that's the only one of the really old episodes that is still publicly available.
Not the usual quality content you get on these episodes. Although the topic.
Go ahead and check it out and see our shine.
That topic's basically the same. But that was the one we shot in my apartment in Denton, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Just before going down to the pub.
Yeah.
Oh, Maryland. I miss you.
Look at the point where Rob radicalizes during the podcast.
See, that'll be there's going to be a fun exercise where I slowly but surely move further left. And so does Corey, where Corey has ended up where I started on the podcast 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I have moved to the radical left.
I don't know if I'm there. I think I'm more like where you were in college. I think I've gotten to that point.
So you're a George W. Bush compassionate conservative now.
Maybe, yeah.
That's because that's where I was.
Where that part of the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore, so I think that we're okay.
I was gonna say, I think you went from Goldwater to a Bush Republican, and I went from a Bush Republican to a Marxist. I don't know exactly how that works out, but let me see. If I do the math in my head, it's if you carry the one, $3.6 billion in global commerce shut down in 6 days. That's about what I would equal, which is funny enough. This same amount of global commerce shut down when you shut down the Suez Canal, accidentally.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. So the funny thing about doing a show once a week and having weird news stories that seem to take up way bigger percentages of the news than it should. Mm-hmm. But then
this is like a hurricane.
Yeah, but also it's as if we found out about the hurricane Tuesday. Then the hurricane came, decimated the entire world economy, and then was also gone before we get back to do another show. And you're like, oh, yeah, so you guys were talking about this thing, and we feel like we should talk about it, but also the boat got cleared today. So although the canal is not fully open, it will be very shortly.
There has been times where I've thought about, like, maybe we should create, like, some sort of emergency podcast, like... I mean, we want to do it for this. This isn't really like
the Suez Canal's not a huge crisis.
I mean, it's not like a breaking news for our purposes.
Yes, yeah.
But like when Trump got COVID, I think that happened on like a Thursday.
Yeah.
So we were like right in the middle of episodes, so we could have done an immediate like Trump got COVID. But then the problem is that like there's no any process of us podcasting takes several hours to get
Also, I don't think that you would have approved of me calling that Death Watch 2020, which is really where I would have wanted to go with it. There's an old SNL skit of Tom Brokaw recording all the deaths of people before.
In case they needed to go to, in case somebody all of a sudden died, and he's just like, Henry Kissinger died today.
Do you want your weekend backup announcing that Henry Kissinger died? No, I guess not. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, get back to it. And
here we are. Henry Kissinger's still alive.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he is. So here's the funny thing also. Everybody knew about the story, and everybody I asked, I was like, well, yeah, you know how that started? And they were like, oh, well, actually, no. I don't know. The guy, the boat, he wrecked it. I'm like, okay, no. Didn't wreck the boat. Not a bad driver. What happened is that...
This isn't an Exxon Valdez situation.
It's not. It's also not that cruise ship where the drunk guy tilted it over. You remember that? But what happened is that there were high winds across the Sinai, which are likely to happen on occasion. Mm-hmm. And what they usually do is they shut down the canal. But for those of you in Maryland, like Corey and I, you'll know that The Bay Bridge has a speed at which they shut down the bridge.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's 49 miles an hour. Winds at 49 miles an hour, bridge shut down completely.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, winds at 50 miles an hour, bridge shut down completely. 49 miles an hour, still open, but
cautious. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that if you're driving in a car, 49, 50, don't feel that different.
Yeah.
And
especially if it's a sudden gust of 49.
Yeah.
Like.
And the bridge is sustained at 50 miles an hour. So it's like you get a gust of 65 in the midst of a 45 mile an hour wind. It's pretty hard. And Suez Canal, like many waterways, also has a maximum wind. So if it's a crosswind, it can only be at a certain speed, or they have to shut down the canal. But you get those gusts, and things get crazy. And as I said, sometimes a 49 mile an hour wind, when the limit is 50, you don't really tell the difference because it's still a stiff wind.
Yeah.
And it blew the ship, a gust and a push of wind blew the ship into the side, which is how it ended up stuck. The other thing is, it's really hard to slow and turn those ships. So when it hits the ground, it then pushes itself aground, and the rear end of the ship turns slightly to block the entire canal.
Yeah.
And I do point this out from week on to week. If you guys watch from episode 1 to 365, you'll hear me mention this before. But the tweet of the week, or the meme of the week, is all of us have had a fuck up. I mean, we've all had fuck ups.
Yeah.
But very few of us have had visible from space fuck ups. And I just love the you can't see the one boat in the canal from space unless they zoom in, but you can see the pileup of boats on both ends of the canal, which is great.
Like I remember once we had to redo the parking spaces at the restaurant, and one of them, the original marking wasn't there very well. So he tried to guess exactly where it was, and it led to like one space that was like an inch or two wider than the one right next to it.
Yeah.
And it caused so many problems. And, that was a fuck up, but nobody's looking at like satellite pictures of our fuck up.
Yeah.
Going like, this is ruining the economy.
And no matter how bad that was, the guy who drove into the side of the restaurant can't blame the spot that's across the parking lot for that.
Yeah.
But, so... another funny thing I heard this week is just like, here you go, another one. All of the left is jumping out and talking about how capitalism so easily collapses, but it's not like Karl Marx actually envisioned this. And then we found a writing where Karl Marx actually said, if a great interruption in commerce, like, in parentheses, the shutdown of the Suez Canal, and he's like, oh, so I guess Marx did really envision this. So I said 3.6 billion.
It's like the only thing he could have guessed that would have still been relevant today.
Yeah, honestly,
can you imagine like if he was just like, it all comes down to big gramophone. If gramophone falls, then everything else is bullshit. And then you're just like, wait a minute.
But I said 3.8 billion.
Maybe this Marx guy ain't so smart.
Well, I mean, even of his time, it would have been fine. Even the Trotskys.
The gramophone probably came out after him, didn't it?
I would say so.
That would probably be actually more impressive.
I mean, honestly, if he was just like, at one point we'll be able to record our voice and have it speak back to you.
And at some point we'll have indoor electricity and no more gas-powered lamps, and it's just like, look at this fucking idiot.
No. To be fair though, Mark started in Russia, and they still don't have those things. So
true.
He wouldn't look like so much of a prophet there, I don't think. And I said 3.8 billion at the beginning of this, which was a joke because it is far greater than that. The impact on commerce. And you might be asking yourself, like, well, what's the big deal? And I honestly went the other way. I was like, oh my God, this is a travesty. It's causing so much of an interruption.
Yeah, we're good on Marx's life. 1883 is when he died.
Yes. So that would have been just prior to...
So he died, and 3 short years later, Natty Boh came into existence.
Oh, yes.
Which
in
is
the land of pleasant living.
Kind of like the phoenix of the...
Well, and to be fair, Marx... thank God he didn't live till 1886, because then he would have felt as though he needed to move to Baltimore,
right,
in order to live in the land of pleasant
living.
living.
National bohemian. Yes, of course. Why wouldn't you?
But so I had this picture in my head that, like, if you cut through the Suez Canal, you're turning a 14-day trip into a 2-day trip. And I'm like, this is just unbelievable. It's crazy. But these boats have been sitting out there for 7 days now, 8 days, and it turns out it's a 6-day trip. Like, at full speed, you save 6 days. So if this boat had gone sideways and you'd been like, if you'd been like my dad and been like, bruh, we're going to find our own way, and just like head off down the side of the coast of Africa, you'd already be in Europe by now. But instead you're like, you're like my mom. Well, let's just wait it out. Let's just wait and see. And, hours later, cursing at everybody. Oh, not cursing because my mother doesn't curse, but like, gee willikers, these traffic, whatever the Christian version of a curse word is. And so it saves you 6 days. And I get 6 days is a long time until you've been sitting there for 6 days. And now you have to sit for extra days till they open. And then more days until it's actually your turn in line to go. So, I don't know. It feels like it's a little dumb.
My favorite part about this is it's a boat. So, people have I think most people have had some sort of experience on some sort of boat. Like, whether it be like a ferry that takes you to Staten Island or something like that, or like you actually go out and fish on a boat or whatever. So, I think most people have had some experience on a boat. And therefore, they think that anything that happens to this boat, they can use their prior boat knowledge to apply. And it's just like, I like watching people get frustrated when they're just like, well, if it's stuck, why don't we start loading off things from the boat so then we can, like, it'll be easier to move. And it's like, oh, but it's still very, very heavy, even with all the stuff off of it. And it's not like we could just gingerly move it out of the way. It's like, oh, well, why don't we get another boat to tow the first boat out? It's like, well, there's no boat that's capable of and the problems are much deeper than that. And then at that point, people have come up with, gotten to the end of their ideas, and they're just like, well, I guess the boat's fucking stuck then, isn't it? Like,
I just
like there's not somebody who's like more boat knowledgeable than them, who's like
that working the problem
that works on the Suez Canal and knows like how they're gonna get through this.
Two interesting things from this story. One, I love that the documentary we just watched yesterday. Damn.
The QAnon?
Yeah, the QAnon documentary had a moment where it was like, I'm on a boat. We haven't heard that song in so long. And then it's like Suez Canal and that thing happened in the same week. That's great. Also, Suez Canal has never been closed.
Yeah.
Before now. And
other than sporadically.
And I would say, and see, that was the point. It's like, I thought to myself, like, wait, that can't be true. But the fact is that it wasn't closed. It was just there were Egyptians and Israelis firing across the canal at each other. And some very smart boat captains were like, we're going to let you kids settle this thing out. And then we'll come down the canal. But this is the first time that it is actually like fully closed for an extended period of time. So sad news, but it's over and the boat's out. And global commerce and capitalism will survive. Maybe.
Until the next boat gets stuck in the Suez Canal.
And now, as I talked about last week, my group of black-clad people in the South with the burning the hammer and sickles and the North remembers. Idea number 2, we just start pushing boats into the side of the Suez Canal. And eventually, the whole global economic system will collapse. And then my retirement plan will really come into play, which is, of course, to not have a retirement plan and just wait for the global economic
hover
collapse.
boats.
So, more close to home, I suppose, for us, maybe not for all of you, but there is another battle brewing. That battle, of course, between nature and man. And by the way, nature won, man 0. And I guess
for now,
man conciliatory goal because we got the boat unstuck. I think it would have been really funny if just at that moment the wind blew and just re-grounded it right above it. Like, fuck you guys.
Gets stuck and then gets jammed in the other direction.
Oh my God, it just floats the other way. But a very man-made situation happening here in LA with, I don't want to call it an emergency because there's nothing about this that is an emergency.
So what this is LA has a government that is very liberal.
I'm going to use air quotes. Government. Yeah.
You know what my favorite part about LA government is that we have the city council and everyone thinks that's like the most important thing. And then we also have the county board of supervisors, which like nobody knows. Do you know your county board of supervisor? Do you know? Yeah, no. Producer Roberto has no idea. I don't know. I'm very in touch with politics. Have no fucking clue.
I'm not
and then these are the people who actually run Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's just like we have like a show governments just for fun, like where all the corruption happens and stuff. Anyway,
Just for fun, where all the corruption happens.
it's like the Days of Our Lives version of the government for. Like the board of supervisors is the news.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you got Days of Our Lives with Garcetti and
Well, how about this?
Weezer and stuff like that.
The city council is the Tucker Carlson, the Bill O'Reilly of the Fox News network that is government in California.
Garcetti walks into an incredibly well-lit room. And he's just like, well, clearly, my closest advisor will never get in any kind of trouble touching somebody's butt. It's just like... Mayor, I hate to inform you this, but there's this picture right here of him touching somebody's butt, and you standing right next to him with big 2 thumbs up smiling. So perhaps we have a problem.
Photoshop. It's Photoshop.
Clearly. I'm a 1 thumb up man. So the LA government, hopelessly liberal as it is trying to find a place for the ever-expanding number of homeless people who are living on the streets during this pandemic. Now, we're a full year into this, so you'd imagine that there had been a lot of progress made, but from my eye, there's just as many people on the streets as there was before, if not more.
Yes. And specifically, though, in Echo Park, it's almost a self-made problem because there was apparently planned renovations, which nobody knew about until the day they were going to start doing the renovations.
Right.
But again...
But renovations based off of fixing the thing that homeless people broke.
Yes.
Like that's the planned renovation. Like for months now, homeless people have been destroying Echo Park, and they're like, we're gonna have to fix all this at some point, but we can't do it while the homeless are in the park. And it's just like, all right, well, it'll be 6 months from now, and like a deadline. It pops up. It's like, fuck, that's today.
Yeah,
Call
honestly,
the LAPD. We need to kick some people out of the park.
it feels a little bit like it snuck up on them, and they were like, "Oh shit, yeah, we said we were going to do that today."
How many people are out of the? None of them? Fuck us.
Also feels a little bit like somebody in November said, "This thing will be way over by March.
Yeah.
It won't be a problem," and then we forgot about that too. And it's like, "Oh, COVID's still happening. Lots of homeless still in the park. Also, we totally forgot. So let's go throw up some
Barriers.
garage sale fucking posters on some trees, and then put the barriers up. We'll be fine.
We
Nobody
all-
will notice. It'll
We
be
only
great.
need to give them 2 hours notice. So
Narrator.
Here's the-
People noticed.
here's the problem. It's not that I think that the politicians are not trying to fix the homeless problem in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're not capable of doing it the way that either they or the constituents want them to. Right?
Well, and
So-
you say the constituents, but there's not one way that all the constituents want.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, like we have Project Room Key right now, which
Mm-hmm.
is a state-run program, which basically gives hotel rooms to homeless people for a predetermined rate to the hotel. So hotels are not very busy right now because not a lot of tourists are traveling into LA like they normally would.
Let's put a pin in that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Up until spring break. But there are a lot of rooms available. So the state was basically buying the rooms to house homeless people in during the pandemic, so they weren't on the street. Some homeless people do not want to be involved in Project Room Key for various reasons. Some of them are worried about being sort of in control of the government kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's also some who are having some mental instability issues and therefore do not know if they can trust these people. There's been a lot of mistrust that's happened between the homeless community and the city before.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, we're going to put you in this place, and then all of a sudden you're not in that place anymore, and your keen spot right on the lake is no longer available.
Yeah, and you're on Skid Row amongst a bunch of other people.
Right. And then there's also nobody wants to pay for any amount of homeless care, and nobody wants to have it in their backyard.
Yep.
Nobody wants to have a homeless shelter in their neighborhood.
And I mean, keep in mind for some of these people too, they are vets with PTSD. And I know this is cliche, and I'm going to say it anyway, but some of those people literally they don't like to be indoors.
Yeah.
More of a Vietnam thing, I think, than really Iraq or Afghanistan thing. But again, I know some people who came back home from being in Iraq or Afghanistan and camped out in their backyard for months after they got back.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I'm inside, I hear the refrigerator tick on, and I'm rolling out of bed and knocking my wife out onto the floor and like covering her up. Like, because it sounds like a mine that's triggered and about to go off. When you hear like click, tss, and so there are some people who just never got over that. And being outside is the most peaceful that they can be.
And I mean, that's really the problem is, take how many homeless people we have in this world, just to make it a round number. Let's say it was 10,000. We have 10,000 different solutions to homelessness at the same time. Like, it's not like one solution is going to fix all the homeless people in the world. It's going to take just as many solutions as there is homeless people. And that's hard to strategically get past, like.
Well, listen, we can find a really easy way to get a round number. Let's figure out how many empty houses there are in the United States right now.
Yeah.
And divide that by 6, because there's enough for every homeless person in the United States to have 6 houses. That's how many empty houses we have, because capitalism is awesome.
Yeah.
We'd rather have empty houses and people sleeping on the street.
Well, the point that's being missed there is that not that there are just empty houses, but there are houses that are not being occupied necessarily even by the person who owns it.
Yes.
If I had 3 homes, I only live in one of them at a time. That means 2 of my homes are not occupied, but they're also not like vacant.
I'm not even counting those.
Yeah.
The 6 to 1 is homes that are owned by a bank because they took it from somebody. Also, that family may be homeless at this point. Who knows? Or was built and is owned by the construction company. There are literally entire neighborhoods in some places in the country where the neighborhood's empty because they built 40 houses, never sold any of them.
Yeah.
Now they just sit there falling down. And I know not everybody is set for that, but there's probably a high percentage of people that if you said, listen, I'm going to give you this house, don't mess it up, and whatever improvements you make, if you meet some certain standards, you get to keep the house. People would be like, what? Okay, great. Yeah. And set about to making a little homestead and just do it. But again, capitalism, so we can't do that.
Well, I mean, there's people who want to buy the houses who are trying to.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Are there? Is that why there's 6 empty houses for every person?
I'm not everywhere. In LA specifically, there is a housing. There's a lack of housing, even for the people who have money who want to purchase the houses.
That's not specifically LA. I mean, I would say that listen, there's homeless populations in Dallas and in St. Augustine, Florida, in Tampa, in Baltimore, all places where there are a lot of empty houses.
Oh yeah, I'm not
LA
saying
ain't the one.
Right. I'm saying like if you want to, transport your LA homeless to Kansas where there's more open houses, then you could, but then hypothetically you're just transplanting people from the place they want to be to some place they don't.
And I'm not for that. But I would say that to look at local populations. San Francisco, not the place. Housing is not available there. LA, housing not available. New York, housing not available. But there are places where that is a solution.
Yeah.
One in LA is the tiny houses, which we talked about before, which people also protest, despite the fact that they are on completely unused and unwanted land by the freeway.
Well, the other problem too, and this is one that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, but there's been clear evidence of it happening in the past, and I think it's happening way more than people realize, which is other cities shipping us their homeless people.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we have a Skid Row where all the homeless people go, so if we just put them on a bus, they'll find their way to Skid Row, and they'll just live there rather than Orange County.
For the cost of a Greyhound ticket from Phoenix to Los Angeles.
And I think Vegas got in trouble with this, sending them to San Francisco once, and had to pay like a huge government fine for basically just dropping a bunch of homeless people from a bus in the middle of San Francisco and said, have fun.
Or painting a school bus with like Greyhound misspelled on the side. Like, who wants a free trip?
Who wants to ride the Silver Dog?
But so all jokes aside, nights and nights of violence, protesters being tear gassed by police, and you may have thought to yourself, listen,
having bright lights shined in their faces and stuff like that too. All the great LAPD tactics that
after everything that happened in 2020, after a portion of the police budget was going to be set aside for social workers, at the first opportunity to use non-police intervention by social workers and making it a good community-focused transition, the LA government chose to send out the LAPD with riot police and tear gas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
I mean, at the end of it all, the real problem here is that they picked the worst possible way to do this. Like, almost anything they would have chose could have been better, but it was just compounding mistake on top of compounding mistake, and it seems like everyone was completely unprepared for anyone to be upset about it. Like that's the part that like Mitch O'Farrell is the council member for that specific area, for the Echo Park area.
Yeah.
And, you know, he keeps trying to put out these statements talking about like, no, for the last year we've had people going into the park trying to do the outreach. And it's just like, yeah, but they haven't been successful because you don't have the rooms to immediately put them in.
Yeah.
So now you create this D-Day where everyone's got to be out of the park, and you get, you know, a large majority of the people who are in the park to accept the Project Room Key thing to get them out of the park.
If you give me a key right now.
Yeah, if you give me a key and transport me right there, I will do it. I'm not going to do this like I'm going to leave the park and 5 weeks from now I'm going to show up at the LA Grand Hotel.
Yeah.
The worst part is like, you know, now you have a situation where you have 20 people who are like, I'm not leaving. You can't make me leave unless you force the cops to evict me.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go to the cops because that's their option. And then people are upset because cops are coming in and taking out homeless encampments at the park.
Yeah.
And people who are upset about the homeless people in the park are upset that now this has become such a big fucking shit show. And like, you know, it's like nobody is happy. Literally nobody is happy. Mitch O'Farrell is desperately trying to throw out like, you know, like, no, we've been trying to help them. We've been trying to help them. And they're just like, fuck you, killer. Like the whole thing has gotten really like heated. Mm-hmm. And like, I haven't heard a fucking word from Garcetti on this. Like,
yeah, I mean, is he still on furlough? I just feel like sometimes I forgot that we put him on furlough. He might still be on furlough.
Garcetti's whole job is just coming by and telling us the bad news like a stepdad we don't like. It's like Newsom.
Wait.
Newsom's like, hey, guess what? April 15th, everyone over 16 gets a vaccine. And then Garcetti like pokes his head and he's just like, you ain't getting no fucking vaccine. I don't got vaccine money.
Is that a stepdad? I guess so, because the real dad's the fun guy.
Yeah,
he's like Disneyland, right?
Gavin Newsom's the fun dad. He's like, what? You want some money? And like Garcetti's like, they're expecting things now. Stop doing this.
So maybe it's maybe Garcetti then is mom, and so like Newsom's like, guys, vaccines the 15th, and then the 15th comes, and we're all sitting there like, where's my vaccine? And Garcetti has to be like, I told you not to get your hopes up. He always lets you down.
Why'd you promise him a tickle me Elmo?
I like the image of Gavin Newsom sewn into the suits,
Yeah.
very good looking, who's,
he's got these custom tracksuits with like the white bear. Like, I don't know what it is about governor wear that has escalated in this last year. Like, because Hogan does this too.
Yeah.
Like Hogan wears like a Maryland like tracksuit with like the hat that looks like it's like paramilitary Maryland.
Yep.
It's like, I'm the head of the Maryland National Guard. Here's my hat. Like,
Technically he is.
oh, I know, but I'm saying like, you know, it's like he had a special hat commissioned for the occasion, and then Newsom's walking around with like his loungewear with the white bear. It's like,
it's official California. I don't know if you know.
I kind of want it. I'm not gonna lie. It's a good looking jacket.
The other.
Do I have to become governor for this? Do I get my name in the recall election? Is this how we do it?
Well, I was gonna say you just have to get Saint to get the jacket and then write on it in blood, and then pay $1,000.
Just call up Brooks Brothers and have them make me one too.
It'll be fine. But I was gonna say the another fun thing that happened this week is the viral thing that went around about a guy's like, you think Texas is a bunch of crazy people? Go to Maryland. They put the damn flag on everything. Everything's about how awesome Maryland is, and it ain't that awesome. And the flag ain't really that great. I know you love it, and it's
how
fine.
dare you?
But it's a peacemaking between slave owners and abolitionists.
Listen, if we go back far enough in United States history, everything is slavery.
Listen, the Stars and Stripes are a signal for war crimes and genocide. I'm down with it. Let's throw that out. I got an idea for you. Red background.
All I'm saying,
white hammer and sickle, and one big blue star. How you feel about that?
All I'm saying is, if we change the flag tomorrow, it's not going to get rid of the racism. The flag will still be. The flag will be new, but the racism remains. Like
I already outlined my plan to deal with the racism, Corey, and you didn't like that either. So I don't know what else I can do. One thing I know is not going to work is taking this entire thing to Minnesota and putting it on trial, because there's a bit of a show trial going on right now, if I do say so myself, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Derek Chauvin, who is the officer who is charged with the most serious crimes against, in the case of George Floyd, is now on trial. Today, officially, trial began. The opening statements were had. The first witness was called, who was the 911 operator. Tip-top professional witness, could not lead off a case with a better witness outlining the timeline, when and where everything happened, giving a point of view of, I saw the CAD notes, I was watching a video of the live feed, I was reacting, EMS, fire, police, I had my finger in everything. And then when she was done, they called a girl in sweatpants and an Arizona t-shirt, and I said, I'm done. I'm going to work today.
This is where it's all going to fall apart.
Yeah. But you pointed out later there was a reason that they called her next.
Well, yeah, she filmed a video, and they need to get the video into evidence, so they need to call her to the stand.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make to Rob, and this is kind of the silly lawyer stuff you don't understand if you've never been around a courthouse like this, where if there's a big trial and you know it's going to take a while, and maybe it has some media attention, they'll start talking about how long the journalists think the trial will be.
It's 8 weeks.
It's going to be an 8-week trial. And then the lawyers will start saying to themselves, oh, man, I got to fill 8 weeks worth of... like, now all of a sudden the media has made the mandate this is going to be a long trial, so we're going to extend it. Because there's no reason to really... Like, I was watching a little bit of the woman at the Speedway with the Arizona shirt doing her thing. And, like, it literally could have been 5 questions. It could have been, did you take this video? You saw the event happen? You work at that Speedway? You continued to watch the things that happened after the fact? When you left work that day, things were still going on? Thank you very much for your service. Have a good day.
And honestly, based on the summary I have seen of her testimony, literally it's 2 questions. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State Exhibit 138. Can you identify that for me? Oh, yeah, it's a video I shot with my cell phone. Thank you. No further questions.
Well, maybe you want to have
the date and time. When was the date? The date of that?
Yeah, and then maybe you want to have they did ask her a question about like the corresponding video that showed her shooting a video, and it's just like, so is this video from the surveillance camera that shows that the time is 11 a.m.? Is that you in this video taking the video that we just saw? And it's just like, yes, that's me. It's like, that helps place her specifically at that moment, so that would be beneficial for the prosecution. But
yes, especially if, as I didn't know that, and I suggest now that there is going to be a 3D composite of the scene.
There was a they later so it wasn't a 3D composite.
It was a 3D video of what happened.
It was a Google Maps satellite image of the area right above, like a sort of 3D rendering of the area.
Yes.
Marking the different locations. So, and it's just like, and you were standing right here, and there's an arrow, and it's like...
There will be a composite video then.
Yeah.
Of like, this allows us to move around in 3D space to where everyone was and what they were doing, because what they want to establish is we built this composite from this video, and this video. We've shown you on all the videos where the people were. Like, when she shot the video, there's the security camera. On the security camera, there's her.
Yeah.
This other third video, this is how we build our composite. So I bet you we're going to see like a... here's where the officer like looks over, and he can clearly see the knee on the neck and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
The reason I called it a show trial is not because there's not justice being done. There absolutely seems like everyone is doing their job. But my first suggestion to you, or maybe yours to me, but was just that we have the same idea, that the defense is going for, I need one holdout. Yeah. I need a mistrial or a hung jury, one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to walk out of here with 12 saying he's not guilty.
Right.
But if I can hang him, they're looking at Baltimore and saying, like, if we can hang this one and we can hang the next one or get mistrials on one of these, and then the state starts thinking, like, how many times are we going to go through this?
Well, not only that, but, like, how many times are we going to display our argument for I mean, in a case like this,
Oh.
I would welcome a mistrial or a hung jury because I got a whole crack at the apple on the House.
Yep.
I saw their entire case. So either they're going to restructure their case for the second time around to help fill in the gaps that the jury didn't find they hit, but the defense gets the chance to do the same thing. This did not work. Let's not do this again. Like it's more beneficial for the defense to have a second crack at it than the prosecution.
You think that.
Yeah.
But it's actually not.
Really?
Because generally speaking, a defense is based on statements given by people, and you can't change your statement, which kind of locks you into a story.
Yeah.
But the state builds cases on multiple points. So if
this bridge falls, then we have this one over. Yeah.
what was her name? The Arizona T-shirt girl.
Oh, I have no idea.
Maya Angel. It was something. But if the next time around, the next time around, they choose just not to call her.
Yeah.
That's a whole different wild card for the defense. They have to all right, well, we were prepared to dispute this video and why it doesn't show what it shows. And that was a cornerstone of our case. Now that's completely disrupted. But you can't say that Derek Chauvin's motivations changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cornerstone of a defense is generally something that is not in the hands of the state, but the state can literally just
try and poke holes in it.
Yeah. But they also build their case on whatever the bountiful evidence around, or they choose not to show things. The guy who's on his sixth trial now.
Oh, Keith Davis.
Yeah. Is that where it's like, what we found out is they had all of the facts from the sixth trial at the first trial.
Yeah.
They chose what they wanted to show. They also didn't tell the defense,
They
which
also
is the
didn't
problem.
allow discovery.
Yes. Now, the part of it is you have to give everything over, and the sculpatory stuff is problematic.
Also, between the first trial and the fifth trial, some of the officers that were involved in the first trial are no longer squeaky clean enough to testify in the fifth trial.
Yeah.
So the entire story has kind of changed a little bit, but
right, and that's when the defense can get an advantage.
Yeah.
Cops don't look as clean. Exculpatory evidence is found, that kind of stuff. But otherwise, the state can do that. They can say, we have 5 possible ways of him being guilty.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is try this one. Hung jury or mistrial. Great. Go with number 2. And then you have in your head, like, all right, this is what they're going to sell. This is what the story they're telling. And then they come out of left field with something completely new. And you're like, all right, so we're going to play this on the fly. So I find that the best thing for the defense is we're looking for the wearing them down and just saying, like, how much is the public going to take of these 4 people, I think, are charged in total? 4 people being charged and failed, tried and failed. And,
I imagine part of the reason why they put Chauvin up first, though, is because either you're going to get some quick pleas from the rest of them if he's found guilty, or they're probably going to try and let the whole thing go quietly if Chauvin is found not guilty. Because, I mean, that's really the centerpiece of this whole thing. I mean, if you look at it from a 1,000-yard view, I don't see how you could possibly say that it's not, him killing George Floyd, without, there's no police, there's certainly police violence going on here. Like, I don't think that's in dispute. What they're going to try, in the defense is going to try and do, is show that he was acting within his scope as a police officer, and then going on a very narrow interpretation of the law in order to explain how, at the 9-minute mark, he was still
within the bounds
of being a police officer based off of the state of Minnesota. And then you're trying to just get at least a couple jurors to say, I don't know what you want me to say. He's protected as a police officer because he would, and then you get to the point where you get an impasse in the jury and it just never.
And much as
never gets out of deadlock.
Much as you pointed out there, that if it fails on Chauvin, then it is likely they won't even go forward with the other guys. Now, you, me, and Roberto get caught up in some kind of conspiracy or crime. You best believe they are going to take all 3 of us to trial, and one of us, who may have been a non-participatory conspiratant, may be convicted, despite the fact that the person who actually did the crime doesn't get convicted.
Yeah.
But the state just has a different perspective on police officer conspiracies. But and you mentioned the 8-week trial. That is probably can be the state also saying the opposite of what the defense is saying. Defense wants one holdout to give us a mistrial or a hung jury in the end. And the state is saying, if I can make this an 8-week, a 10-week trial, and there is 2 people in that jury room who are holding out, and we get a friendly judge. This doesn't seem like that kind of judge to me, but I don't practice in that courtroom. The prosecutor does, obviously, so he knows. And that judge is like, when they tell me they're deadlocked, I make them go back for twice the time. So if it takes 10 days, they're going to have to go 10 more days. So I give them a hung jury.
Also, I mean, nobody's excited about jury duty, but if you get called to a jury, it's fun for a day.
Yep.
After about a week, you're like, okay, are we done with this thing? If it's a really long trial where you're there for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, it's a murder trial or something like that, you just want to be done with it so fucking fast. And if you got in the room and just 12 people said guilty, like, we're done. It's good. We're good.
And
like,
if
they might want us to discuss it a little bit and like spend an hour filling out the form, but like, you know, it's nice to know, like, when you walk in the room and it's just like, okay,
we're all great.
We're all guilty here.
Yeah. And I was going to say the fun ones are when the jury deliberated for 93 minutes. Now, it's been estimated it takes 80 minutes to fill out the forms. So that means that there was 13 minutes of deliberation about the verdict.
It was like the OJ case. Like they only deliberated for like an hour and a half or something like that.
And I think that there are probably jury trials. And again, theoretically, I could never be called on a jury, but that I'm sure there are jury trials where it's not in the public. And like every day you're finding new information. You're like, this stays interesting for a while because I'm like down with the topic. But this has been public the entire time, so it's really just like, I saw this on Facebook. I know what we're talking about now. And I just imagine it would get boring over time. And over 10 weeks, you walk in, there's 2 holdouts, you start feeling a lot of pressure to buckle and just be like, okay, this is where, I think we've talked about this before, the deal making. Like, all right, I'm not going to give you second. I could agree to third. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do on a recommendation on third if I was to agree to third?
Yeah.
And it's like, again, Keith Davis, where he got the gun charge,
right,
but not the usage of the gun. So you're saying he had it on him, but he didn't actually use it. So how is that logical? It's not. But there was a deal struck in the jury room.
He had a probation, so he couldn't have a gun.
Right.
So the gun being there, like, even if he didn't use it, was in his presence enough for probation to.
Which is what somebody in that jury room was selling on. Like, listen, he couldn't even be around a gun. So if it was there, that's enough. Yeah. So I'll agree to that we give him on something because we need to get this animal off the street. Probably a white guy from Dundalk. We need to get this animal off the street. But I'm not gonna. But nobody else was willing to give him a murder.
Yeah.
And that may be what ends up happening. And I think that's what the state's hoping for is that you get everybody in there. They're tired and they're just like, bro, I will come across this table and choke you out. And usually it doesn't get that far. It gets to the like deal making before that. It's like, all right, we got 5 charges. Let's go one by one. We're going to do secret ballot on second degree. Only second degree. Don't think about anything else. Second degree. And you figure out where are you. It's like, all right, we got a 12-2 on manslaughter. That's where we are on the closest. Let's talk about this one. Where can we get closer on this? That's why you have long trials sometimes, just to where OJ was probably much longer than it had to be because there was a measure of the state hoping to wear down people, and it worked the opposite direction, unfortunately, I think. So, but
the state also, I mean, like, I think this is probably the biggest trial that is like televised like this in a long time since OJ. I mean, like, I think there's been show trials that have gotten popular, like Casey Anthony, but like the stakes in the Casey Anthony trial weren't really high.
That was on Court TV, but CNN went live today with the entire trial, and they're talking about like it's not going to be all 10 weeks, but this week they will be live for the trial all week. That's not Casey Anthony. That wasn't the dude up in the Bay Area.
Right.
What was his name? Guy killed his wife. Also, Garris did that case.
I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
By the way, watch the documentary on some of those because it turns out he may not have actually killed his wife. That's where that comes from.
Wasn't the boat like getting away with it or something like that?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the guy, but he had
a famous
very
boat. Ironic.
Like the SS getting away with murder or something like that. Can't remember the name, but I can remember the boat.
It's unfortunate.
It's full circle. Boats at the beginning, boats here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I remember the boat being something unfortunately named. Like if I was the lawyer and I was just like, what was the boat? fucking kidding me, right?
So, own a boat? What is the name registered with the state of California for that boat?
Yeah.
The SS I just killed my wife and got away with it. Is that inspired by anything or objection, Your Honor.
Also, if you're the state and you're just like looking through the files, you're just like, I don't see. Do we have a boat registration? What was the boat called? And then somebody's like, you're not gonna fucking believe this. And then there's like a
walk slowly over to the jury. It's just like, so what's the name of that boat?
Well, while you're standing there looking at them,
Yeah.
like, yeah, what is the name of that boat?
So, I mean, like, one of the things about OJ is that the prosecution, like, you know, like both can't remember their names now, Darden and
Marsha
Clark.
Clark.
Both of them are very capable lawyers who do very good work up until this moment, but they had a couple crucial flaws that killed them.
They had good work in the trial, but they had bad witnesses who lied to them.
Oh, well, that too. I'm saying, you know, like they were capable of getting it guilty.
Yeah.
But then there were mistakes that they made. There were mistakes that happened from witnesses that they called. All the bad shakes went their way. And when you're going up against a world-class legal team
the
with
dream
Cochran,
team over on the other side,
Cochran and F. Lee Bailey and all, you're going to have to play mistake-free ball, and they didn't do that, which led to the ability for the not guilty. In this case, I think it's a very similar point. As a prosecution, you want to play mistake-free ball. You don't want to do anything that might possibly. You don't want to have a try on the glove moment.
Yeah.
Because if it goes wrong, that's the case. That's it. It's done. You can pretty much wave it goodbye. So I think what I liked, at least on the first day here, of what I saw, I didn't see the whole thing, but I feel like the prosecution did a better job of landing with the things that will stick with the jury for a little bit longer. There was one phrase where they were talking about there was a registered nurse who was at the area who was going to give aid to George Floyd, and Chauvin pointed pepper spray at her.
Yeah.
To keep her from getting in. I think that's the type of thing that'll stick with you. There was some line that was like, people were calling the police to deal with the issue with the police.
Yeah.
Which is like, where do you go when the police go wrong kind of thing?
There were some notes in the CAD notes, and that one of the things was asking her, like, what's that? Oh, duplicate call. Was that a duplicate call? Well, we got some calls about the arrest and how the arrest was going. Like, oh, yeah, that's not good.
So I mean, like, if you can set up enough of these moments for the jury to just want to be in your side and not give them a mistake to think about, then you have a decent enough chance, I think, of getting it guilty. Assuming you never know how the jury is going to play. It's a complete wild card.
If I'm the state, though, one thing I do, I play the whole video.
Yeah.
The whole
thing.
thing.
They did at the beginning.
That had a timestamp running on it. I play it without the timestamp. And that was probably a mistake on their part, because now you've lost that moment. But I play without a timestamp. And then I say, it's been 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, you're going to be thinking in the jury, like, okay, this thing has to be almost over. It has to have been 9 minutes.
Well,
It's 3 minutes.
Somebody said, somebody who was covering the trial said that they hadn't seen the video since the incident, and it seemed so much longer than it was the first time that they saw it.
I can't imagine anybody watched it at real speed the entire time, and just it is 8 minutes and 37 seconds is a long time.
Now they're calling 9:29 because of like the body cam footage.
Yeah.
The video that was had before was like caught in the act, I believe, right? Like, I can't remember.
There's some question about, like, he was up on his side for a moment and then like pressed down and kind of like fumbling around. But 9:29 is even worse. Like,
I mean, right now the defense, all they can do is poke holes in the small little windows of legality that they have in the protection that police officers get from immunity from prosecution, basically, in most cases.
Yeah, and by the way, you saw that today.
Yeah.
So they thought he was drunk. Every indication they had was that he was under the influence and that he was fighting with the store owners. Well, that was what the call was. Okay. And that you can see them going into, like, they came in with the mindset of, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm going to have to, like, deal with the drunk guy. It's fine. And we are looking at these pictures of this very happy father, but this was a drunk guy on Percocet that they were dealing with.
Yeah.
So, who was passing out behind the wheel of his car.
You know, they're gonna go to the. I'm sure Chauvin's people. They've already tried to seek a previous arrest of George Floyd for evidence.
Yeah.
Which was allowed, which is him swallowing a bunch of drugs when the officers come up to him, which is apparently what happened at this time as well. And
I think he resisted arrest in that one too. Or not that he was charged with it, but that there was a tussle during the arrest on that one.
Well, on that one, like the cop, to his credit, was just like, "Come on, man, I know what you're doing. Don't do that." Like,
yeah,
like there was a lot of like recognizing what was happening and not being, I think being more concerned that he might have a very bad overdose than a whatever he's being arrested for. So,
which by the way is a reality of something that can happen.
Yeah.
Another reality. States all over the country, most likely if you're listening to this, not your state, just because I find that our listeners come from California and Maryland and New York, Massachusetts, all places where we're basically looking and saying, how can we make more people vote? How can we get more people to vote?
Yeah.
But there are states all over this country where they are not having that discussion.
No.
They're having the discussion of how can we make it harder to vote? And I don't understand that logic, but apparently that's logic that people have.
Yeah. Since the loss of Trump in the 2020 election here, a lot of states have gone to really extreme measures to try and curtail what they saw as problematic voting.
That's what we call, or what they call, black people voting anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line. That's problematic.
Problematic voting,
yeah.
Yes. And just dumb stuff too. I mean, like, the Georgia bill has been getting the most attention. The Georgia bill has been causing the most trouble for like Coca-Cola and Delta, who apparently had been supporting it for a small period of time, and then people were just like, the fuck? Like, so there's a lot of attention on Georgia's version of the bill, but there are ones in states all over the country that are just as. And what's amazing to me is that we have one pandemic where voting by mail has become a thing to do.
Yep.
You never thought about voting by mail before, right?
No.
Like,
I didn't think about voting for a while.
I mean, if you were going to vote, you were just going to go to the polling place and go and vote, right?
Yeah.
You never even thought like, oh, I'll have to mail that. Maybe in college?
No. Because I went home to vote.
Okay, so you went home for the weekend to vote then.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
we've had early voting most of our adult lives. So maybe if we had gone to college in like the 90s before they really had early voting, it would be different. But yeah, like my first election would have been 2004 presidential election. Yeah, because we couldn't vote in 2000. And they had early voting in Maryland. The Sunday voting, the Sundays, 4 Sundays before the election, it was open. So I went home one of the Sundays of October, November, and voted on that Sunday and then came back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think this is a Democrat-Republican thing. I think it's just that it was a pandemic and Republicans were told to go in person and Democrats were told to mail it in.
Yeah.
And that's why more mail-in votes were Democratic. But I think that under normal circumstances, if it wasn't so politicized which way you vote, I imagine that those numbers would probably
Oh, they're really
even
going to
out a
regret
lot.
this when I put out that rumor that Joe Biden's going to come take their guns on Election Day and everybody should stay at their house so that they don't come secretly take their guns. Then you're going to really wish you had that mail-in voting.
If you leave your house, they're going to take your guns while you're gone.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the Republicans to leave.
They're watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Q can send out a brief about them watching your house.
You mean Steve Bannon? I mean, perhaps I've said too much. Is this thing on?
But I think it's like 161 bills in 31 states to limit voting rights, and there's a voting rights bill in the Senate, in the Senate.
Well, it passed the House. It's sitting waiting in the Senate, but it doesn't have the votes from any Republicans.
Yep.
It has Manchin and Sinema. Probably going to hold it up to for no other reason than they are in the catbird seat right now, being the moderate Democrats of the bunch.
Well, that's strange. The new Voting Rights Act has a bunch of pork in it for West Virginia. I don't know how that happened, but
why is coal mining back? Why is that in this bill?
Joe Manchin saving West Virginia and killing West Virginians.
But a lot of these things, I mean, like, we're we have there's a big Democratic slate of things that they would like to do that all involve whether or not they can overturn the filibuster and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
That's you really need to do that to be able to get anything done at this moment. And the voting rights, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is going to be a pinnacle of that if they can get it, but they're going to have to get rid of the filibuster because there's no other way. You can't get 60 votes on that.
And I will say, I don't know how I feel about eliminating the filibuster as a whole, but there has been a middle ground offered, which I am 100% for, and that's bringing back the classic rules of the filibuster. That you can't just, I think you put it aptly, pocket filibuster something by saying, no, I don't agree. Don't bring it to a vote. If you want to filibuster, you get up there like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and you talk. And if there's 40 of you, you take turns talking.
Yeah.
And as Biden pointed out, that gives people time to discuss and negotiate and come to a deal. And or either you wear down the side that wants the vote and they agree to table it so it doesn't come to a vote. Or when you reach the end of your discussion, like everybody wants to go home for vacation.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys got to keep talking because we're not going to take we can't do any other business. We can't even recess while the filibuster's going on. So keep talking through Christmas or stop and we'll take a vote.
I would like to go one further on that proposal, though.
Is it guillotines?
No.
Because I'm down for that, too.
No, that's your solution to
Okay.
everything. My point would be, if you're going to filibuster something in particular, say Voting Rights Act, right? I'm Rand Paul, and I've chosen this moment to filibuster that. I don't want you going up with a fucking cookbook or, like the Iliad or something like that and just reading any old bullshit. If you're going to go up there and filibuster the Voting Rights Act, then I want you to fucking talk about the Voting Rights Act. Because I want there to be 8 hours of you uninterrupted talking about all the things you feel about this bill. Because if it's so important to you that you will filibuster this for the point of whatever your opposition to it is, then I would like to hear all of those oppositions. Because then maybe if some plucky Democrat wants to run against Rand Paul, they can take
what you said,
footage of him from talking about why the Voting Rights Act isn't important and put it into an ad.
Yep.
And run against him. Because that is exactly what, the reason why they go up there and read cookbooks and stuff like that is because they don't want to be on the record saying anything that might hurt their political ambitions.
But they also don't want to pass the bill.
They also don't want to pass the bill. And, if they filibuster and realize that they're never going to get the 60, then just sort of goes away.
And I would say my initial reaction is no, that's not what the filibuster is about. But literally while you were talking, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, you know what? The historical rule was based on bills that were like 18 pages long. So what are you going to talk about for 40 hours on 18 pages?
Yeah.
But Rand Paul is always talking about like, this is a 15,000 page document that nobody's read. You know what? Read it into the record. How about that?
They did that the other week with the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah. And by the way, at any point that you disagree, feel free to just be like, at the end of section C, all right, so here is why this is not good, and offer your opinion. But if it's 15,000 pages, I could talk for weeks on 15,000 pages. And I would need another person because I would imagine that at some point
you got to pee, and
I think I could hold the peeing. It would be like day 3 when I hadn't slept, and I would start going
vape in the chamber.
I think I could Bernie Sanders it, like that picture of him on the plane where he's like into his sleeve or whatever. I could probably do that. My concern would be that day 3 when I hadn't slept and I would start doing things like just screaming guillotines over and over and over again, and that might get me censured or something. So I don't want to do that.
Kooky Senator Cheek.
Yeah.
Always trying to overthrow the body in which he stands.
Me too. Take me out there too. I deserve it just as much as these guys. I don't want.
It'll be like I can already see the Hill romance that you start with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It'll be like what's his face with Clinton, Raging Cajun. Fuck.
Yeah, what is
Carville? James Carville and his wife, who's like the Bush's chief of staff or something.
Yeah, the only problem is that like they are the moderate middle. They're like slightly left and slightly right, and then me and Marjorie Taylor Greene are the Malcolm and Marie of that story. It's just like shout. She's up in the gallery while I'm giving the filibuster, just like you're a piece of shit and everything you believe in is wrong. Yeah, and then after the filibuster, we just like have sex in the center of the
in the rotunda.
The rotunda, yes, on the floor in front of everybody because
you're in the middle.
Fucked up.
You're in the middle of your statements and you're just creeping your cell phone up and you're just like, I'm sorry, she changed herself to my radiator. I gotta go.
100%. But I do another serious note away from the joke. There are also 81 bills across 20 states that are set to limit the rights of transgender people. Not only is it voting rights, which are in jeopardy now, but I think we've talked about this before. Mitch and the Republicans playing the long game. They control 31 state legislatures. And essentially, anywhere that they think they can get away with it, they are now basically like, this is probably the end of the Republican wave. So we need to do shit now to either maintain it or to lock some stuff in so that we can get to our next time of being in power. And the transgender rights bills, and I hesitate to say it, that they're calling them transgender rights bills because they take away the rights of transgender people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how is this a transgender right bill? It's not.
It's like the Patriot Act and
yes,
stuff.
Yeah. But in the end, essentially, Alabama has a law that is now becoming more vocal because a member of the lower house of Alabama testified above to the upper house of Alabama, the Senate and House, but I don't really know what they're called. Some states call them something different, about his transgender daughter. And they basically were like, thank you for coming in. So we're all agreed, fuck his daughter, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. And basically they're saying you're not people. And I've been watching this 14th Amendment documentary with Will Smith on Netflix, and I'm just like, here we go again. Where it's just like, I know they're not going to wrap this in because it's probably too new and it hasn't been figured out yet, so it's not neat, and that's what Netflix likes, like neat documentaries. But in the end, like it was civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, and we're going to fight the same goddamn fight again just because somebody is like, I don't want to change anything about you. I would just like you to recognize me as a human being and a separate person the way that I do you in the way that I feel about myself. No, fuck you. Absolutely not. And then we're going to fight about it for 20 years, and eventually we, meaning the moderate left, not necessarily me, but the moderate left will win, and rights will be given, and you're going to be on the wrong side of fucking history again. It's like literally an open book test that you continue to fail, and I don't understand why.
What I just don't get is like all the issues that they ever bring up about it are just so like hollow, and like it's just like I hear them talk about women's sports a lot. Like this is the reason why we need to have regulations on transgender rights and stuff like that. And I'm just like, motherfucker, you don't give a fuck about women's sports. If you did, the women's national team would make a lot more money than the men's national team that doesn't even qualify for the Olympics. The women's team is winners. Give a fucking, like, you pay them 1/10 the amount you paid the men's team.
The first law that passed was somewhere in the Midwest, and it's going to be the one that fails. It's not going to be the bulwark because they literally point out women's sports. And I don't even practice I don't practice constitutional law, and I'm like, yeah, that's an equal protections violation. You can't just, you should have just said sports. Like, you can't have trans men playing on the men's teams or trans women on the women's team. But you literally just said, oh, we don't care about the men's team. It's fine. No trans women on the women's teams. That's what we're focused on here, guys. The important stuff. And there was a whole hubbub about Miss Nevada is a transgendered woman now. And I literally responded to the person. I said, so what you're upset about is this county fair ass blue ribbon competition, which is who's the purtiest. You're upset that the woman who was assigned male at birth is the prettiest woman. That's what you're upset about. And you're worried that she's going to go compete against 49 other women from your state and other states and be called the prettiest woman in all of those states, and she wasn't assigned female at birth. That is what upsets you. You're upset that the person who was born male is going to be the prettiest girl this year. Is that what you're really upset about? Like, also, you're not that pretty. And I don't mean to be hateful about that, but like, don't be mad about anyone being prettier than you.
I just don't like to me at the end of the day, I really don't understand why we can't just be okay with people who like want to be happy. Like at the very like if Rob came here tomorrow and said, I've decided for the rest of my life it's just polka dots and purple and yellow because that's what's going to make me happy.
Like me. Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, you know, maybe at some point I give him some light ribbing about it. But if I realize it's a sensitive topic and he doesn't like it, I'm gonna lay off.
Way more ribbing. I understand. Yeah.
Wait.
Now, why
The
can't-
beatings will continue until morale improves.
Why can't the transgendered lesbian couple defend their marijuana plants with firearms? I just don't understand. At what point we can't just say, if you're not impacting someone else,
Yeah.
a firearms which they purchased legally through an extensive background check and procedures that make sense. Yeah, obviously not just
Cross-check through a national database.
a national database, not just walking into Walmart and purchasing a automatic weapon with 30 round ammunition or 30 round.
Registering it like you do a vehicle.
Absolutely, sure. But all I'm saying is
Having to
that,
drive to Arizona to get your registration renewed on your on your handgun.
I thought you were going to say a drive-through gun store. If there was a place that had one, I bet Arizona's got one. If there is a place, but no, I just don't understand. Like I find myself like as I move further left, becoming a libertarian, and that is strange to me because idealistically that feels like it's on the right, but it's not. I don't know. Things are very weird. Just let people be happy.
Yeah.
Except for bankers in Europe. Fuck them. I just want to mention it just quickly. You may see in the next couple weeks that the second Great Depression is about to start. And if you do, remember, you heard it here first. A hedge fund in America made bad bets. Credit Suisse, which is one of the biggest banks in Europe, had to cover losses that they had with that hedge fund. They pulled capital out. Other banks are now saying, we don't have money to cover you, what you just pulled out, which is causing an economic crunch, which wouldn't be a bad problem, except for they're also shutting down again for COVID in Europe, which is causing a further crunch, which may have been balanced by growth in the American market, only we're facing the fourth wave of COVID, so also crunch here, depression.
For all the people who don't understand the very technical thing Rob just said, just imagine that in various different European accents, somebody going, "We don't have your money. Bill's got it's in Bruce's house."
We don't have your money. Your money is over in Felipe's house. I do not have money for you. I went from like Spain to France to Italy in just one little loop there. He said various European accents. My most famous accent I've ever done in a performance was a made-up South Pacific accent that was a little bit Australian, a little bit British, a little bit racist, honestly. Like, it was just a little bit.
Was it like a Taika Waititi thing?
It was very much. It was very much that. Like
that's an accent that if you make up, it sounds like you're insulting the people. But then you hear him like actually talk, and you're just like, oh, he actually says it.
See, to be fair, I didn't know. Obviously, he wasn't a star in 1999 when I made up that accent.
You made that accent, yeah.
So in the end, I was looking for like a just generic South Pacific accent.
Yeah.
And that's what I came up with by combining different sounds from different places.
Yeah.
And meaning no offense, meaning to just have a kind of generic South Pacific accent. And then when I've heard Taika Waititi, I always think like, oh, fuck, that was like super racist of me to like do that voice as a white man on stage. But also, I accurately represented the accent of a place of a character who had no background story. I was just like random cabin boy number 4 that had a lot of speaking lines that I had to do an accent for.
I'm going to enjoy when Roberto has to do an accent for some acting work that he gets. Like, he's going to be the lead in some thing, and he's got to really nail the Italian accent or whatever, right? And then it's gonna be weeks of him like walking around the apartment going like, it's a spicy meatball. That is horribly racist. I have to get that better. It's a spicy meatball. No, it's not quite Italian. And like I'm just watching him like go throughout like the many stages of like trying to find it, and he's just like, no, it's too much of a character now. No, it's not authentic. I need to go back to Italy.
See, you're only enjoy that because you're not the one who has to hold him when he cries at night after that.
Moving on. Speaking of crying in the middle of the night, the people who are going up against Nike in their pursuit of artistic bloody shoes.
Yeah. And so listen,
gonna have a fun time.
Again, a quick touch on this just because it happened today and it kind of popped out into the news. One, if you pay $1,000 for shoes,
you're dumb. I'm sorry.
It's really dumb.
You're dumb.
Also,
unless you got like $1,000, just like, you know, if you got Bezos money.
Well, I mean, we also
$1,000 shoes aren't really.
we got that stimulus recently.
Oh, I mean, like, listen, you got that stimmy for a shoe.
I don't know if that's really what it was intended for. All I'm saying is that I see two types of people getting upset. Ultra religious people.
Yeah.
Because there is a Bible verse on the shoe, which is, and Christ said, I saw the devil fall from heaven as a lightning bolt, which is the theme of the video and the song.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people getting upset in defense of Nike, I guess, but people who are like, you shouldn't be able to make money doing that. They're taking a product and just making changes to it and then making money off of it. And the only thing I really wanted to say about that is that's capitalism, baby. I don't know I don't understand these like, I only like capitalism when it works in a certain way. Wait, the banks are going to go under? We needed some socialism to save them now, but rugged individualism for everybody else. I love free market capitalism. What? I don't approve of that. No, we must block that. Don't allow that to happen. No, if somebody's willing to pay $1,000 for a dumbass fucking pair of shoes, individually numbered 1 to 666 with human blood in them and a Bible verse.
Yeah.
Which we were talking before the show about the Church of Satan, which there are Satanists who worship Satan. There is an official Church of Satan, which my understanding doesn't actually worship Satan. It was created to fuck with religious people. And every time you try to put some religious shit in a law, we're going to say that's discriminatory against us because our beliefs are exactly the opposite of you.
Yeah.
And that's where I just go. I'm just like, I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your objection to this because of religion.
I see here. I think I found the common ground, which would appease me personally. I'm not against an artistic recreation of some sort of or like taking something and remixing the work to do something new.
Okay.
What really concerns me as far as looking at this from afar is that a lot of people don't know that Nike didn't decide to sell this shoe. Like they hear the story, Nike selling shoes with blood in it. A lot of people were selling.
It says
passing around.
Saint is selling Nike Air Force Ones special.
Right,
Lil
but
Nas X
they're advertising them as Nike shoes.
Well, it's saying that the shoe itself is a Nike Air Force One, much like saying Van Gogh oil on canvas.
Yeah.
This is Saint blood on Nike Air Force One. So
I mean, I know where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
I'm saying the differentiation to me is if you had people send the shoes and then you create the art and then send it back to them, then I see no legal grounds under which anyone could be upset. If you sell the shoe, like if you have a website, for
They
instance,
bought the
where
shoes,
you
though.
where you have the thing,
yeah.
and then you sell them as Nike, like with the trademarks and everything like that, then you're trying to resell something that you've remixed, which I think is the differentiation.
So can I buy
if you're
shoes?
an artist who like, you know, like I come to you, the artist, with the pair of shoes, because this is what happened. I have a custom pair of shoes, some Orioles shoes from way back when. The way that process worked legally, it was you purchase shoes, here's where you can purchase those shoes, bring them to me, and then for an extra $50 or whatever, I'll do all the art on them.
So are you saying that there are literally thousands of people on eBay and Amazon who are breaking the law by buying shoes and then reselling those shoes?
No, I think that if you are, you know, like if you have property, you are allowed to sell that property at any point if you wish.
So the artist bought 666 pairs of white shoes.
But I mean, like part of that too is that you're expecting, if I go onto eBay, right, and I buy a pair of Nike Jordan 5s, I expect real Nike Jordan 5s to come my way. If I spent money and got somebody took some Converse and put a big fucking swoop on the side of it,
right,
I'm not going to be happy.
Right.
Like,
but if you got custom shoes and they weren't customized, like you just got a pair of Nike Air Force Ones, you'd be very upset. Like, what's custom about this? Well, I signed them, so it's custom. No, but Nike got paid the money for the shoes.
Yeah.
It is a resell of the product, which is perfectly fine. Many people do it. A lot of people buy it at wholesale, and then wait for the market to spike and then sell way above retail to make profits. This is the same thing, except for what the person's really buying is the customization on the shoe that's already been paid for. He didn't steal the shoes.
Right.
And whether or not the person bought the shoes and sent them to him, you're creating more rarity by saying, I am only making 666 of these.
But the advertising it as a Nike is the problem.
But I advertise those shoes I sell on eBay as Nike Air Force Ones. What's the difference?
Because
I'm advertising it as a Nike.
Because it is, in fact, a product and creation of Nike.
Okay, but this shoe is a Nike Air Force One.
At some point, I could go back into the Nike history of all their shoes and say, oh, here's the one that I just purchased.
So if I have a pair of Penny Hardaways from 1999 and I'm selling them for $45,000, is it justified for somebody to be upset? Like, it wasn't Nike, it was Adidas, whoever. Is selling these shoes for $45,000. How dare they sell their shoes for $45,000 just because my ad says Nike Penny Hardaway 1998 shoes?
Yeah.
No, because the understanding is unless you're going to Nike, you're paying someone else for that product. Now, dumb people who get upset about things that they read on Facebook, just reading the headline, and companies that take advantage of that because they're subsisting on ads for eyes on the page, this is what we do. That I'm going to read the headline, I'm going to go to the page and read the headline and then be upset about it. But are we going to just devolve to the lowest common denominator and say, we need to protect society from the dumbest people? Or are we going to take those warning tags off and let Darwinism run its course?
Listen, I'm not opposed to the idea of people hypothetically doing this sort of thing and selling remixed version of shoes. My problem is that if in any way somebody could be reasonably confused that this is that they thought that this was Nike selling these products, then you're getting into the point where you've basically, for lack of a better term, violated somebody's copyright. We could make a movie that is an homage to another movie that is already out there. We could do the opening of Social Network, and if it was me and you instead of Mark Zuckerberg and
his date,
and his date, and it's the same dialogue and everything, then we could make a legal argument that we are trying to do the same exact thing to show people that we're doing the same scene, but clearly it's different.
Yes.
If we tried to sell this movie as The Social Network, directed by David Fincher, and put it out on Amazon, and then people got it and said, oh man, I've always been looking forward to watching this movie from fucking 10 years ago. And then they open it up and it's me and you's ugly mug in the first scene, then people would have an expectation of being upset about that. Okay,
but if we went to a website called Rob and Corey's The Social Network by David Fincher, and that's not, it's a terrible example. I know you keep trying to use these music and movie examples that are not the same thing. They're going to Saint's website. They're buying Lil Nas X shoes. The only billing on them that is Nike at all is what is the canvas on which the art is done.
Right.
And I would like to know when I'm buying a shoe, is it an Air Jordan that I wear an 11 in? Or is it an Air Force One that I wear a 10.5 in? Or is it a Converse All-Star that I wear 14.5 in because they run so goddamn small?
So maybe as a we'll get off of this after this point, but like maybe as a point, if you just sold them as original custom shoes, Lil Nas X Satan ones, right? As opposed to saying Nike Air Force One Satan, like, having the Nike part of the branding associated with it, then you find yourself in a new.
Here's the funny thing.
Is that how they sold it?
That is exactly how they are being sold. It's described as the Satan One, Lil Nas X by Saint. In the description, it is customized Nike Air Force One.
Okay. Well, I mean,
but if
basically
you go to BuzzFeed, what you see is
at the end of the day, you have to.
You have to read the story?
No, at the end of the day, you have to just make sure you don't upset the wrong person because then the lawsuit comes.
Well, I mean, and I'm wondering if all of those Vietnamese children who put together those Air Force Ones for pennies a day are helping them put together the lawsuit for against Saint.
I mean, listen,
shoes.
Legal help is not cheap. So
I mean, it is if it's in Vietnam.
You got to save where you can.
I would also say manufacturing is not cheap, but it is in Vietnam, so I guess it just depends if Nike outsources legal to the same place they do manufacturing.
We got a couple last things here. Let's go through quickly.
Yeah. So the three big stories of the week when it comes to COVID are really intertwined with each other. Most of them come out of the Sanjay Gupta documentary, which I have not watched because I didn't want to watch the commercials. So I'm going to wait till it's streaming, which it is now, and I can watch it. Fuck you, CNN. You made me watch a whole day of trial with a chick with fucking Arizona t-shirt today. But the first thing is not current CDC director described a concern of impending doom.
Yeah.
And she didn't say this part, but I think it was inferred that Americans are fucking dumb. And basically she said, so here's how it all went awry in the beginning. And here's what we're doing now. And how it could all go awry again. And basically everything I saw on social media was just like, man, this chick's crazy. Which is, by the way, the same shit that I saw last March. About like, no. It's all going to go away. It's going to disappear. Just trust
like a miracle.
Yeah, it'll be crazy. Which kind of ties into the second story, which is Deborah Birx and the Birx disclosure.
Birx.
Oh, Birx. Sorry, Birx. I just think the Birx disclosure has a better ring to it.
I understand why you want to do it. I'm just saying it's not correct.
Deborah Birx. So she is a former member of the Trump COVID task force.
Just remember that one day when you die and you're...
you know how many times I've been called Robert Cheeks in my life?
Your legacy is with me.
Yeah?
It'll be the Rob Check method before...
Or the Rob Creek, the Rob Creek method, the Rob Cheeks method. There's a whole
outside of your simulation on your cloud, looking down, going like, "This fucking sucks," and then you're just like, "Rob Check's method."
They got it wrong in life. They get it wrong in death is not my concern either. But so former Deborah Birx, former member of the Trump administration. Basically,
if you don't remember the one who was shaking her head when Trump suggested inserting bleach to defeat the coronavirus.
I know that the bleach does a good job at cleaning. Maybe we could figure out how to put bleach in people.
It disinfects them somehow, and
yeah. So she basically came out again in Dr. Sanjay Gupta's documentary. The next few things will be from that, and said every death above 100,000 is essentially unnecessary because when things started breaking out, they essentially analyzed and said, if we do all of these things, this thing's going to curve, but it's going to grow, it's going to curve, but we can limit deaths to somewhere around 100,000. And the president at the time, Trump, was unwilling to do those things and essentially asked for a worst case scenario, which was around 2 million deaths. Mm-hmm. And the best case scenario was then at about 100,000 deaths and was looking for like, what levels can I take? Or what can we expect the local governors and mayors to take to give us a zone?
Yeah.
And essentially, 500,000 deaths was found to be an acceptable amount of loss for economic loss given in exchange. So this is not wholly unexpected for us to be at 500,000. More, it's towards the middle of the zone. The lower end of the zone was like 220 to 300. Mm-hmm. So we've exceeded that some. But yeah. It's nothing should be it's surprising to us, but not surprising to anybody who was in the administration at that time that this is what they shot for. So I know I've said previous weeks, 1,000 people are still dying every day. People will continue to die. Biden said today we are almost at 550,000. I'm pretty sure we're past 550,000.
I think we're just a hair under.
Are we really?
Yeah.
So that has really slowed down. Good. Except for the other bit of news, which is back to the CDC director, the current CDC director, basically saying like things are trending in the wrong direction. More states than are trending up now on cases. Good news is hospitalization is not following that trend. Deaths are not following that trend. So it may be that we're starting to build some herd immunity, or the immunizations are working, something, or it could just be, hey, the thing we knew all along.
Yeah, we're past 563.
I fucking knew it. I fucking knew we had been past that for weeks ago. But anyway, the likelihood is that people are saying, oh, well, cases are up, but hospitalizations are not up. Yeah, because hospitalizations come a week or two after the cases go up, and deaths go up a week after that. We're not there yet, but we're going to see it start to happen, and it's trending in the wrong direction. And I ranted about this on Instagram. People can go watch it there if they want, but it's just disheartening that a year later, No one has fucking learned a thing.
Yeah.
And the other bit of news was that Anthony Redlands, what's his name?
Robert Redfield.
Yeah. Who is the former CDC director, who's also on Dr. Sanjay Gupta's documentary, who also just basically kind of has that like, fuck it. The way that my dating life is going now, where when I was 20, I was very careful about the things that I said and very calculating and cagey. And now something pops in my head and I'm like, fuck it, say it, see what's the worst that can happen. I feel like that's what the good doctor's at now, because part of his interview he was like, oh no, I fully believe it came out of a lab. And I was just like, oh wait, what? I literally was about to turn off the TV and I was like, huh, okay. And at the end of the bit of that interview, Sanjay is talking to the host of the current show, and he's like, here's the thing. It sounds crazy, but if there's one guy who's got the resume to back up that kind of statement and make you think, maybe, it's that guy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh. And he goes into the whole thing. This is not about it purposefully letting it loose. In every lab, viruses get out, no matter how strong the lab conditions are. But what you usually do is in level 5 labs, you have like, you guys, when you're in the lab itself, you then stay on campus. And then you work in shifts. Not only shifts for the day, but shifts on week. So week working, week not coming to the facility at all.
Yeah.
And that way, you try to keep separation. But what we know is 10-day incubation period with COVID. So even if you were doing that, right about the time you start virally shedding is the time that you go home to your family. And there's a big biomedical research thing in Wuhan, and that's how it came out.
I mean, I've heard people say, like, oh, it was invented in the lab since the beginning of this whole thing. I've never specifically told people that they're crazy or wrong for believing that, mostly because I can't tell you with 100% certainty.
Nope.
And I don't want to be the person who says that absolutely didn't happen when I have no clue to know whether or not it did or not.
And by the way, if you had, when this story comes out,
yeah,
then they don't believe anything you say. Like, no, masks don't matter. I'm not going to trust you on the vaccine because you were wrong about that one thing.
Yeah.
Bitch, I've been right about everything for 12 months. I got one thing wrong.
It's like like when Fauci at the beginning, when we didn't have enough PPE, and he said, I don't think people should be wearing masks right now. And then as soon as PPE stepped up, he's like, everyone wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
Like it was making an argument for keeping the first responders with it, as opposed to every Tom and Harry who
every idiot who was running out and buying 1,000 the K95 or N95 masks. Like you don't need that. You don't need that much toilet paper either, or milk. That's all going to go bad. What are we going to do with all this?
How many cakes you baking?
So I guess the summary of all that is, as I said a few weeks ago, or last week, we're fucked. So it's not over. 1,000 people a day dying. Yeah, thousands of cases a day.
Part of what, going back to the CDC director's comments about like the
impending doom. Yeah.
A big reason why I see where she's coming from with that is because too many people have decided it's over.
Yep,
it's done. I'm going back to life. More people have traveled in the past week by airplane than they had since Christmas of 2019. We are getting to the point. I mean, you can just see it in the world. Like, I watch a lot of Vegas YouTube channels and stuff like that.
Really?
Vegas is back.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in Vegas right now. It has been packed for the entire month of March because March Madness. People are out there enjoying basketball games. And that is not necessarily the thing to be doing. I will at some point here be traveling to San Francisco to see my brother. So we will do a remote show after the fact to be safe and everything like that.
But you will be fully vaccinated before you go, right?
The second shot is when I get back.
Okay.
The day after I get back.
But you're on the vaccination schedule. Are they vaccinated?
Not yet. They're in the April 15th group.
I have less faith in this plan than I did before. But much like
but I'm saying
much like every woman I know, it's your birthday. So,
No, but what I'm saying is there are still ways to do things safely, and there's still ways to be responsible and to limit the risk that any one person has of getting sick from any action that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like people really want it to be over so they can go party and have fun and roaring 20s and all the stuff I hear on Instagram. Yes, we're so close to that. As soon as enough people get vaccinated, we'll be there. But the problem is that we're just not at that. We're so close to it, but not there yet,
Yeah, and it's very upsetting for me to see so many people that I know, once again, traveling all around, going places. I don't. I get you may be vaccinated, and that's absolutely fantastic. But the waitress at the restaurant that you're stopping at in wherever on your drive may not be. Not you. The people on Instagram that I'm seeing traveling now. I don't understand the or the other thing that I'm getting in responses to the Instagram videos is like, all 5 of my friends, I'm not vaccinated, but all 5 of my friends are, so we're totally fine. I'm like, that is not how it works. You didn't actually watch the video. Like, ugh.
Well, I mean, so, just as a button to this, there has been some encouraging news about recent studies that have been done regarding people who are vaccinated. There was a UCLA study that had 15,000 nurses who had gotten vaccinated. And in the time after the 2 weeks after their final dose, which is when you reach that hypothetical 94% rate, there were, I think it was 7 people who had tested positive for COVID. None of them with serious symptoms. All of them sort of like the walking COVID.
Yep.
Which is good because, that's sort of proving that vaccinated people are keeping themselves from getting seriously ill.
Yes.
From this, at least so far.
And from testing positive, which means likelihood is they're not sick at all.
And that the basically the positivity rate is like 0.01 or something like that. The chances of you getting a positive test.
But again,
but you can still get it and you can still pass it on to somebody. So it's not a...
And you can still let the germs or the virus inhabit you temporarily and expel it on somebody shortly thereafter, which is not viral shedding, because your body is protecting you from it, even though you won't get sick. You'll never have a positive test, but you got exposed, and then 25 minutes later, you pass it on to somebody
what I'm going to be happy about is once I'm fully vaccinated 2 weeks after the fact and everything like that, I seriously will sort of feel like the mask plus mitigation efforts plus the vaccine is probably enough to keep me from getting sick, and then obviously from getting seriously ill. Yeah, it's once we all get to the point where the herd immunity takes over, where the masks can come off and stuff like that. Yeah, it's but like it's just like I got to protect people still after I get vaccinated.
Yeah, not going to bars and sitting close together. And look, you and your group sit close together. That's fine. The problem is there's another group of 8 people sitting right on your back, also sitting close together, and it's not about you. It's just about everybody, and they're all dumb. And once again, I pray to a God I don't believe in to just evolve this virus to kill 60 or 70% of these people, me included. Honestly, at this point, I don't know why I still pray to be the zombie survivor when I should just pray to be the one wiped out in the first wave, so I don't have to worry about it.
Rob, don't give up too quickly, because we have something coming up this week. It's opening day, and that means sports ball. Real quick, because we're going a little long.
I was going to give Roberto props on hitting the post, and it reminded me of hitting the post on the video this weekend, where right as the camera shut off.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. Good post work, though. Good job, Roberto. Almost producing.
I always like how he's doing the conductor, like the dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
It's like looking at Dudamel over here.
Well, to be fair, we've never heard that jingle before, so it's good to know when it's going to be up.
So came up on me. I don't know how, because it's always like April up until last year where it wasn't. It was,
almost always.
But opening day is Thursday in Boston. Yeah. We got the first official real baseball of the season going on.
Are you getting drunk?
I doubt I'm going to get drunk, but I think I will watch it at home and maybe have a beverage or two.
Okay.
But
Because, by the way, we're also sneaking up on May the 5th.
Yeah, I know. God. I was hoping that would just go away forever, but I guess it won't.
No. And I don't want to remember it for people's birthdays, so I got to remember it.
for the personal pain that it causes you. Orioles are going to be starting in Boston and then going to New York before the home opener in Boston or against the Red Sox in Baltimore. How are you feeling about this upcoming Orioles season?
So, I mean, we said goodbye to Felix Hernandez.
Yep. We had a polite
mutual parting.
We're gonna let you resign rather than get fired.
Yeah, was that what it was?
Yeah.
I felt like the announcement from Felix was a little bit like that girl who's just like, "Nah, I broke up with you." But I only say that girl because in my life it's been the girl.
So the Orioles made a couple signings in the offseason that we made mention of here on the podcast, of Felix Hernandez and Matt Harvey, with the thought being that if either one of these two guys was anything like the heights that they had before
2012,
that they would be very productive members of our pitching staff. Matt Harvey has been coming in and throwing high 90s fastballs and looking good.
That was apparently the other thing. When I heard Matt Harvey might be the second arm in our bullpen, or
number 2 in the rotation,
I'm like, oh, it's going to be a bad year. All right. But apparently, good things.
Looking good. So let's see. You know what? I wouldn't know because even though I pay for MLB TV, lack of spring training games this season, like, okay, just real quick. It's this fucking easy. We live stream every single week.
Yep.
Just get a fucking camera. Put it in a goddamn seat. I don't need commentary. I don't need scoreboards. I don't need anything. No. Just put a fucking camera in the seat and point it at home plate. And let me watch furniture movers hit baseballs. I don't need. I'm a very simple man. Like
I would argue, you might pay more to not have the commentary. Like I want the experience of being there. I don't want to hear these guys. I want to hear the announcers and the sparse crowd. And
all I want is the bird sounds. Yeah. And the people around. Like somebody come on, like, hey, come on, everybody. Like,
well, I know. As soon as you said bird sounds, I remembered you've never been to a spring training game. Something that's only some of us elite fans have experienced. So it's.
It's all right. Next year, I'm going to go to Arizona and knock out a whole bunch of them.
Of Orioles games? Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
I'm gonna do Cactus League. I'm gonna tour all the Cactus League stadiums.
It's not quite.
Not quite Florida.
Not Sarasota.
The Sugar Sands of Sarasota.
The Sugar Sands of Sarasota.
We've also talked about how the Orioles have a 0.0% chance of making the playoffs, according to Baseball America.
I don't think it improved. It hasn't improved over the past few weeks.
Now that we are at the beginning of the season, do you think that we got a percentage point or two in your mind?
I always thought that was a little low because it just really
statistically zero.
Really? Now here's where I'll put it. We won 47 games 2 years ago. In a shortened season last year, we won 56 games.
No. There was only 60 games.
Oh, was there only 60? Maybe that's what I saw. Or maybe it was that we won a higher percentage of the games.
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
We did.
I'll pull it up real quick.
47 out of 162 is a very low percentage, so I can't imagine it was that hard to beat. We would have had to win like 28 of them of a 60-game season.
Okay, hold on here.
Yep. So I'll just
25 and 35.
25 and 35.
Yeah.
Which is better than 47 and 47 and 112.
Yeah.
Fuck math. I can't. That was on the fly. 114, something like that. Anyway.
I think we win more than 47.
Yes.
That's my thought.
And I think we'll actually do better than we did last year. Again, I had some feelings about us signing 2012 stars. But I also think that that helps certain things, like having aged people in the dugout. Greg Zahn was our catcher for a while, and we made fun of him.
Way back, yeah.
We made fun of him a lot, but he was there when Wieters was coming up, and I think Wieters, in a way, became the catcher that he became because he had a guy who's like, "Listen, you got natural talent. I'm going to give you the journeyman catcher intelligence that you need to play the game better," because catchers need a lot of physical talent, but they also need to be able to run a goddamn game. So That's something he didn't have to learn on his own. He had a guy there. So is it good to have an elder statesman there to help your young team through? We're rebuilding now. It's a lot of young guys. I think it's helpful. So I think that we do better. Also, I'm pretty sure that Chris Davis's agent actually filed the paperwork for the drugs this year. So that's good. We won't have to worry about losing him 15 games from the end of the year. So everything's turning up roses for us, honestly. And you can't do worse than 47. God, please, Orioles, you cannot do worse than 47.
If you're asking me, I'm giving a prediction of 68 wins this season.
Oh, okay. That's bold.
So, I have, you know what? The way I think about it is, I imagine we're going to more often than not win 1 out of every 3 games.
Okay.
We have a 3-game set. We're going to win 1. We're going to drop 2. But I do think that as the season goes along, I mean, obviously we'll trade anyone of any kind of value. But I think we will start seeing some of the young kids start coming up, and it'll maybe around September or so, we'll start seeing like this every once in a while we'll win 2 of 3 as opposed to 1 of 3. And that'll goose us a little bit at the end. That's just my general. It's not going to be a winning ball club. This is not. We joke about going to Vegas and putting $100 on them to win it all.
You never know.
I mean, listen, we should do it anyway, just to be supportive fans. But
the 50% death flu comes and kills off everyone in the league other than the Orioles.
Rob's new COVID variant all of a sudden takes over.
Come on, baby. But no, I mean, I would probably put it closer to 50%, winning 50% of the game. So what's it, 81? And only because what I've been hearing seeing is that like the same 6 team names coming up again and again, that there are like 6 very strong teams and a lot of teams are rebuilding. Now we play, unfortunately, 2 of the very strong teams a lot, and that's a problem. But if a lot of people are rebuilding, I think that's a coin flip every time you play them, which means you win 1, you drop 1. The middle game is always you're assuming we're going to drop more of those than we win, and I feel like we split those. We may split those more. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're really asking me, New York obviously is going to be competitive.
Yeah.
They're probably going to win the division. Tampa is always in it. Toronto seems like they're gearing up to be a serious contender. Boston is a who knows situation because they were so bad last year. And
I think they were on the list of like they may be in the mid rebuilding of like moving parts around.
They're trying to get rid of money, so clearly they're not like committed to buying the next piece that'll make them instantly better.
Yeah.
So we'll see, I guess. And you know, I imagine that they'll be a better team than we are because they have more.
I was looking at
the
Yankees and the Rays as 2 teams that are really looking to make a push, I think, this year. So
let me ask you this: just as a potentially getting back to the ballpark at some point this year, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to after a year of not going to the ballpark? This will be our final thought here.
Yes, I would like to start out in the second inning, top of the second, break to the bottom of the second, bottom of the second, break to the top of the third, with some Boog's barbecue, and then maybe round out the bottom of the 6th to the top of the 7th with a crab mac and cheese dog. Don't care so much about the baseball because it's probably not going to be that entertaining. But
getting back to Camden Yards. Yeah.
I really miss the Maryland food in general and the particular ballpark food of those particular establishments.
One thing I'm looking forward to that is, funny enough, not Orioles related, is I would like to find the first game I can between any team playing the Astros.
Okay.
Anywhere close to
I am not
where
going
we
with you
are
to that game.
And I am going to. Hopefully, it's like a Tuesday night, no kids.
Just boomers.
Have one of those fucking Rios nights.
Yes. Yeah. See, I sat through those nights back in Baltimore, and I did it because it was my team. But you want to go like talk about the Cardinals versus the.
I want to go head hunting. I want to go to Arizona and fucking yell at Altuve. Just get fucking hammered drunk before the game, and then just like. Immediately, like they've done the opening announcements, and I'm sitting on the third base side. I'm like, "Hey, Altuve, you little fucking asshole!
Where's your Apple Watch, bitch?
9 hours of this, baby. Get ready."
Next day, just hoarse and hungover. Oh, God.
In bed with Altuve, I'm like, "How the fuck this happened?"
There's a trash can in the corner. It's real suspect. I don't know why that's there.
Oh, that thing looks like it'd been banged a lot last night.
I'm not going to that game today, just so you know. I already know what the horribleness is going to come out of that. So, no thank
Well, you know where you can find more horribleness.
365 days worth?
OTheAnthem.com. Corey to theanthem.com. At the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more on me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/Corey Baker Film, and at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You've heard it before, but this week, a video. Assuming that Roberto doesn't drag me to Arizona at some point this week, there will certainly be a video this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure why a 5-hour drive would derail your entire week, but...
I'm going to have to record it from the car.
Again, we took
I'm on the way to Arizona.
Oh, my God. I mean, a vlog would be anything. It'd be something.
Listen, it's a road trip feature.
Yeah, I dig it. Oh, is that all? Is that all you got?
Yeah, that's what I got right now.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I wouldn't be remiss because I felt like we almost forgot last week. So I want to mention producer Roberto. Thank you for joining us. You can find him on social media at RTOAZN. He is, of course, available for acting work, for ranch hand work. Personal security.
You better get on him quick though, because he's getting offers in. So.
Yeah, a lot of offers, and I was gonna say security work, but he just flipped those Crocs into non-tactical mode, so not currently available for security work. But those legs, oh boy, those legs. But yeah, check him out, RTOAZN. He doesn't post on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on TikTok, but you can find him on all those places and find the old content, mostly the stuff that I made him make. So you can find me at Roberto. Cultural appropriation. At Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. You can find me on YouTube. The channel is Rob Cheek. And new content. It took me 4 hours to shoot 4 weeks of new content on Sunday. So, yes, new stuff coming. Updates, reviews, fun stuff. Come and join me there. You can always find more at robertncheek.com with links to all the stuff that I'm doing, including the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rod's books.
Thank you. And if you'd like to join me, always looking for new people to play with on Call of Duty, both Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War, especially zombies. Looking to play more zombies. And no one that I know will ever buy the game, despite the fact that they keep saying they're going to buy it. They just never do. And so I'm looking for people to play with. So
I would buy it, but
you have absolutely no interest.
I'm not really good at that sort of shit.
I mean, I could teach you. Nobody I play with is good until they play with me. I've never make players good.
I've never been good at those games.
It's literally just pull the trigger. It's bat and button smashing.
I never like how the controllers are like flipped around.
Oh, funny thing, I can set it up any way you like. There's no excuses.
Wow.
There you go, and that's fine. Listen, you could tell these folks week after week, I got new stuff coming. If you just were honest with them and said, I don't want to make anything for you, then I can appreciate that. It's at least it's honest. But yeah, so that's all I have to.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, we're 2 hours in and 365 episodes. But as always, this is the OTA Anthem podcast, part of the OTA Anthem digital network. For Corey and Roberto and producer Brooks, who is really just cute on the job.
On top of the game.
Yeah. On top of the wire for the internet, not chewing on it, so that's good. This is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
666, the number of the beast.
I really wanted to get into the Battle of Los Angeles discussion, too. And
hell and fire. And Nike's gonna sue.
There's how did all three of us have different interpretations of one statement, Battle of Los Angeles?